I feel privileged and humbled to stand before you as President of UPASI at this 130th Annual Conference. UPASI's existence over the last 130 years as the planters' united voice is truly a significant achievement. This could be achieved only due to the strong edifice laid out by our visionary predecessors, the past presidents and committee members of this association. To each one of them, I place on record my sincere appreciation for their contribution. The plantation sector plays an integral role in the three southern states of Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. They collectively contribute 1/6 of the overall tea production, 3/4 of the rubber production, 4/5 of the coffee production, and 3/4 of the rubber production, and practically the entire small cardamom and pepper. South India accounts for 63% of growers, 47% of workers engaged in plantation activities. About 12.51 lakh growers, most of them small and marginal, cultivating plantation crops on 11.77 lakh hectares, providing permanent employment to 11.35 lakh workers, majority of whom are women. The value of plantation commodities produced in the year 2022-23 was estimated at 54,420 crores at the farm level, forming 1.9% of agricultural GDP and an export realization of 16,133 crores. The value of plantation exports to agricultural exports were at 7.7%. South India contributes 52% of the overall value of production, while its export share is 75%. Plantations play a key role in maintaining the ecological balance, cultivate communities, foster sustainable practices, and provide a home to countless of species of flora and fauna. While the winds of change and innovation in technology are sweeping through our farms, offering new products and cultivation practices, it is our duty to harness these forces for the betterment of nature. With India clocking rapid economic growth, with changing demographics over the last 2 decades, change is sweeping far and wide. This is evident more in South India, where the 7 southern states have grown at an incredible average of 10% compounded annually over the last 8 years. That is, growing at 1.5 times the national average, reaching a per capita income of 2.7 lakhs or $3,300. It is said that South India is growing at a rate at which the miracle economies of Asia were growing during their boom years. Today, these southern states, from being 35% richer in 2014, are 50% richer than the rest of the country. With growth comes education, investment, better living standards, purchasing power, and an abundance of opportunities. This is affecting our sector with a lack of labor and skilled hands. It has been a mixed year for plantations, with price recovery noticed in the case of pepper and cardamom, coffee prices sustained but at a lower level compared to the previous year. The scenario in tea and rubber was different, with prices reporting a steep decline, well below the cost of production. For instance, South Indian tea prices, which were around 130 to 135 during the first quarter, have declined to rupees 102 per kg, a decline of nearly 25%. Similarly, rubber prices are currently at 146.5 per kg, as against 175 during the corresponding period of last year. The main reason for the decline in prices in tea has been excess supply, both domestically as well as globally, and lower export demand due to global headwinds. In the case of rubber, the price has declined due to declining demand from China, the major consumer of rubber, lower oil prices, and the global economic crisis. Globally, there has been a robust expansion in tea production, especially from countries like Kenya, while consumption has slowed in the developed world, more so in traditional tea-drinking nations. Given this macro trend, the unmindful expansion of tea growing area has led to a total collapse in prices, affecting economic sustainability of the small growers as well as the large gardens. It is true that both tea and coffee in South India have been impacted by either stagnant or declining yield. It is evident from the South Indian tea production figures that after recording the highest production of 246.9 million kgs in 2008, production never surpassed this level. Importantly, production decline is more on account of area rather than on productivity. Domestic consumption in tea, as per recent estimates, is growing at around 2.3%, while production is growing at 2.6%. The per capita consumption is estimated at 850 grams, which is very low compared to other countries like Turkey, Morocco, and China. There is a need to bridge the demand-supply gap, which calls for generic promotion measures to increase consumption and highlight the different health and positive aspects of tea. One of the main issues today with the tea industry is low prices. This is because of a huge surplus due to higher production than consumption. This calls for producing better quality teas for the market, which will automatically reduce supply, as higher quality teas require higher plucking and processing standards. From the leaf plucked to the manufacture, every process has to be made quality oriented. Tea should be FSSAI compliant and qualify under MRL standards. This can be ensured through regular testing. India used to export about 250 million kg, which has now come down to 231 million due to certain unique issues in some of our traditional markets like Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and Russia. If Government of India can address these issues through bilateral negotiations, we could easily remove this excess supply. There is also a need to encourage fresh planting in new and non-traditional areas. Discourage fresh planting in new and non-traditional areas. Rather, government may incentivize replanting with high-yielding and drought and pest-tolerant clones in traditional areas, which will automatically reduce supply in the short run and be more productive in the long run. Government could also incentivize small growers to move to crop diversification by growing fruits and vegetables, which are far more remunerative today. There is a need to promote intercropping and multicropping in tea plantations to improve unit area economics and promote biodiversity. An Atal incubation in tea is much needed to get new generation entrepreneurs to work on innovations and value addition in tea, as has been seen in the coffee sector. Global demand is skewed in favor of orthodox tea, which is more expensive to produce. The cost differential to produce CTC and orthodox is estimated to be rupees 26. This necessitates that the orthodox production incentive scheme be reintroduced. An increase in orthodox production will reduce the oversupply of CTC teas in the domestic market, thereby improving the price of CTC and green leaf for small growers. The Indian tea industry is facing tough competition from other tea producing countries like Kenya and Vietnam due to low cost of production there, less pests, less diseases, and more efficient operations. If the Indian tea industry has to be globally competitive and retain its share, strengthening research is a prerequisite. We suggest that future research areas should include climate change challenges, improving the quality of clones, growing practices, tea manufacture, artificial intelligence, and blockchain. During the last 9.5 decades, UPASI's research organization, now known as UPASI Tea Research Foundation, has rendered yeoman service to the tea industry in South India. The remarkable achievements of the South Indian tea plantations bear testimony to the significant contributions of UPASI TRF in the fields of research and extension. It is quite evident that tea research made its contribution to different aspects of tea culture and manufacture, and the benefits the South Indian tea industry has derived so far fully vindicate that tea research needs a backing from government. As tea research is jointly funded by the Tea Board of India and UPASI, a classic case of public-private partnership, we request that the Government of India should consider 80% funding to UPASI tea research, and the funding for research should not be tied to the fortunes of the industry. The labs of UPASI TRF are NABL accredited, where various research projects on improving tea production and pest control are underway. There is an urgent need to provide an enhanced, consistent, and state-of-the-art testing service on pesticide residues, heavy metals, toxins, food additives, harmful food pathogens in finished tea, giving the changing MRLs prescribed by import destinations. Towards upgrading the R&D facilities, UPASI has requested the Government of India for a one-time grant of Rs 20 crores. Let me now congratulate Team Coffee Board for the efforts taken to organize the World Coffee Conference from 25th to 28th September 2023. It has been a great effort by Dr. Jagdisha, CEO and Secretary of the Coffee Board, in bringing together all stakeholders to actively take part in this great initiative in a short span of time. UPASI, jointly with KPA, is a gold sponsor for this event. The World Coffee Conference and Expo will make its debut in Asia by setting its stage in Bengaluru. The event will unite the foremost thought leaders in the coffee industry for a comprehensive 4-day program. The overarching theme of this event is sustainability through the circular economy and regenerative agriculture. The event encompasses a 3-day conference, a vibrant B2B exhibition, hands-on skill building workshops, a prestigious global CEO conclave, a growers conclave, and a plethora of networking opportunities. I wish the World Coffee Conference all success. In coffee, about 70% of Indian production is exported. Domestic consumption is estimated at 94,640 tons, as against a production of 3,52,000 tons during 22-23. Consumption is growing globally, with maximum growth at the premium end, as coffee is perceived as a lifestyle product. There is a massive scope for value addition, as coffee is perceived as an affordable luxury in the minds of consumers. While ROTTEP and lower interest rates are important, given 70% of our coffee consists of high-quality Robusta and Arabica, our market share in our core markets of Germany, Italy, and the rest of Europe needs to be safeguarded. Also, the growth of our economy is unleashing a new potential. Today, with the mushrooming of domestic cafes, now accelerated by VC funding, and the setting up of many large international cafe chains, the consumer is spoilt for choice. This is creating a new platform for growers to tap into the value chain to sell high-quality, pure coffee as opposed to instant and chicory blends. As seen internationally, this segment will grow very rapidly. Bulk of our exported coffee forms part of roaster blends, and therefore we need to highlight the unique attributes of our coffee to the roaster fraternity. The bedrock of the strategy for export markets could be to produce better quality of green coffee consistently, which are specifically prepared and effectively marketed based on each roaster needs. In this connection, UPASI, along with other associations, has been petitioning the Coffee Board to provide a Brand India Coffee Development Fund. There is a need for improving the productivity and quality of our produce by improving our on-farm processing equipment, R&D, better seed material, and irrigation, for which support from government is crucial. Setting up of community pulping centers and dryers, quality labs, cupping centers at taluk level will help educate the large base of small growers to attain better quality. This has been successfully tried out in many South American nations. UPASI has been requesting for an early introduction and implementation of development schemes, especially the replanting and other incentive schemes. The replanting scheme is quite crucial as the cost of replanting involves huge investment. UPASI thanks the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Finance, and the Rubber Board for taking steps to increase the import duty for compound rubber from 10% to 25%. This was a necessary step since the import of compound rubber has shown an increase from 11,070 tons in 2008-9 to 137,140 tons in 22-23, recording an annual increase of 19%. However, it is a matter of concern that the increase in import duty will apply only to the most favored nations and may not apply to countries with whom we have entered into free trade agreements. We have requested Government of India for fixing the minimum import price for compound rubber, import duty concession for compound rubber given under ASEAN agreement be revisited, and the Rubber Board should be authorized to issue no objection certificates on every consignment of compound rubber imported into this country. UPASI has also sought government support for plantation sector exports, as it is at a competitive disadvantage compared to other export origins due to infrastructure inefficiencies and other associated costs. This sector operates with very thin margins and needs continuous support by way of export incentives, infrastructure development, and other incentives to make exports competitive. The RODTEP rates for tea at 1.7%, coffee at 1.4%, pepper at 1%, and cardamom at 1% are not attractive to nudge exports. There is a need for government to incentivize exports by way of increasing these rates to 5% for plantation commodities and 7% for value-added products. Climate change has a strong direct and indirect effect in carrying out agricultural operations and hampers crop production, as was witnessed during the last few years. Some of the climate change challenges faced by the plantation sector are delay in monsoon, deficit monsoon, unexpected heavy downpours, a much smaller number of rainy days, long spells of exceptionally warm weather, rising temperatures and dry spells, rainfall concentration over a short period as against a well-distributed rainfall pattern. Plantations have emerged as validated carbon sinks that deserve significant attention as climate change mitigation solutions. Extensive research has established that natural rubber and other plantation crops possess substantial capacities for carbon sequestration among cultivated crops, and UPASI has been engaging with various entities dealing on the carbon markets for potential utilization of carbon credits. My predecessor had initiated certain steps by engaging with Indian Institute of Horticultural Research that culminated in the signing of an MOU for facilitating research, extension, and training for promotion of horticultural crops in plantations. The objective of this initiative is to identify high-value fruit crops to be grown as sustainable intercrops in plantation and to shift to polyculture by intercropping in order to generate more income per unit area. Towards this, demonstration plots have been established at UPASI experimental farms located in the various planting growing districts as well as interested member estates. During the year, we also signed an MOU with the University of Transdisciplinary Health Sciences and Technology, TDU Bangalore, for exploring opportunities of intercropping medicinal plants. We look forward to tapping into this opportunity by identifying relevant medicinal plants that are of high value and high volume so that they can be effectively intercropped in plantations. UPASI has also signed an MOU with the Indian Institute of Plantation Management to develop an export strategy for plantations given the plethora of free trade agreements being signed by India. These initiatives have to be seen in the context wherein growers of plantation crops are pushed to vicious cycles of price fluctuations. The long-term plan should be to augment income of the growers while being economically and ecologically sustainable, importantly, without altering the basic structure of plantations. While current production levels can be sustained through replanting and adoption of precision farming, a large portion of plantations, a small value can be considered for other fruits, processing and value addition, plantation-specific ecotourism, agroforestry, renewable energy generation, etc. Such change can enhance the employment potential of the plantation sector and revenue to the exchequer. Towards this, state governments should bring suitable amendments to the Land Reforms Act to include more crops as plantation crops, so that the industry would be able to venture into cultivating other crops, including agroforestry, more area be earmarked for non-plantation activities without altering the structure of plantations, and an additional measure of relief to permit plantations to carry on ecotourism ventures. The history of plantation is the history of adaptation and survival. Unlike any other sector, the plantation sector is synonymous for sustainability and is environmentally positive. Our skills for survival are not just tested by time, but also by the ecology we live in. In our effort to revive the plantation industry to its past glory, UPASI has been constantly focused on finding out ways and means of mitigating the hardship faced by our planting community. UPASI delegations have been periodically meeting and discussing issues with ministers, members of parliament, senior officials in the ministry and the boards, and updating them regularly on the plantation situation. I assure you that we will continue our efforts in impressing upon governments in the center and the states and try to get remedial solutions. Let me now turn to the task of recalling with gratitude the help and support we have received from various quarters during the year. I would like to thank Professor Rajiv Gowda for readily accepting our invitation to be the chief guest and for extending his support. I thank Mr. Amardeep Singh Bhatia, who has been so kind to travel to Kunur in spite of his busy schedule and spend the last 2 days with us. A UPASI delegation headed by me visited Delhi recently, and we had very useful meetings with our additional secretary, and Mr. Neeraj Gaba, Director Plantations, for which we are ever grateful. I would like to thank Dr. M. Muthukumar, Executive Director, Tea Board, Dr. Jagdisha, CEO and Secretary, Coffee Board, Mr. M. Vasantagisan, Executive Director, Rubber Board, for attending the conference and sharing their perspectives. We look forward to your continued support in the affairs of the plantation sector. Let me also thank the Deputy Chairman of the Tea Board, Mr. Saurabh Pari, Mr. S. Soundararajan, Director, Tea Development, Mr. D. Satyan, Secretary, Spices Board, for their support during the course of the year. The strength of UPASI is its brand. This has been built on trust, vision, and focus. This would not have been possible without a team. Throughout this year, I have received tremendous support from my team. The Vice President, Mr. Sridharan, the immediate past President, Mr. Sanjay Cherian, Mr. Prashant Bansali, the Chairman of all our 4 commodity boards, all members of UPASI Executive Committee, and also our past presidents, for whom I am ever grateful. The strength of UPASI is the coordinated backing it receives from the 3 state associations: Planters Association of Tamil Nadu, Planters Association of Kerala, and the Karnataka Planters Association. I express my gratitude to all the 3 chairmen and their executive committees and their secretaries. Mr. Sanjit, Secretary General at UPASI Headquarters, Dr. D. Balla, our Resident Director at Delhi, Mr. Sanyal, our Delhi representative, Mr. Suraj, our Assistant Secretary, Dr. Victor Alango, Director at TRF, and all scientists, all officers, and staff at our Secretariat deserve my sincere appreciation for their hard work. I thank all the unions and their office bearers for their cooperation in successfully signing off on all wage settlements. I am thankful to my father, Mr. Jeffry Rebello, seated here, for his wise counsel, my wife Nisha for her help and continuous patience, and for the support I have had from my family and friends, especially those present here who have encouraged me at all times. Lastly, I would like to thank all the members of our association for allowing me to serve as your president during the last year. Last but not the least, I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for responding to our invitation and gracing this function. Thank you.